take a look at their two mugshots. We just got into the newsroom. 20-year-old Katie Pladl is a 42-year-old Steven Pladl's biological daughter. The North Carolina investigators arrested the couple, and both face 2 misdemeanor charges of contributing to the delinquency of a minor and 1 felony charge of incest. They were extradited to Henrico County yesterday, where police say their sex.
Hello, and welcome to Crime Time with the Easy E. Yes, the King, where we turn criminals into the roaches that they are, and then stomp on them, or make them disappear. Shit. Okay. Now, awkward pause, as I try to recover and pretend that didn't happen. Anywho, the story of Steven and Katie Pladl, a couple whose story has shocked the world. They were a seemingly normal couple who fell in love and had a child together, but what happened next was beyond anyone's imagination. Let's take a closer look at their history. Steven Pladl was born in 1975 in New York. He grew up in a middle-class family and later attended James Madison University in Virginia. In 1995, when Steven was just 20 years old, he met and married his first wife. The couple had 2 children together and later divorced in 2001. In 1996, Steven had an extramarital affair with a woman named Alyssa, who was 17 years old at the time. The affair resulted in the birth of a daughter, whom they named Katie. Steven gave up his parental rights, and Katie was put up for adoption. Katie was adopted by a couple named Anthony and Kelly Fusco, who raised her as their own daughter. She grew up in a loving and supportive family in North Carolina. But as she got older, she began to wonder about her biological family. Katie eventually found her biological parents on social media and reached out to them. She began communicating with Steven, who was living in Virginia at the time. Steven had never told his other children about Katie, but he welcomed her into his life, and the two began a romantic relationship. In 2016, Katie gave birth to a baby girl, whom they named Bennett. Steven and Katie moved to Virginia and began living as a family, even though they were aware of the societal taboos surrounding their relationship. In January 2018, the couple was arrested in Connecticut and charged with incest. Steven was released on bail, but was ordered not to contact Katie or their daughter. However, just a few weeks later, Steven violated the terms of his bail by driving to Katie's house and shooting her, their daughter, and Katie's adoptive father before killing himself. The story of Steven and Katie Pladl is a tragic tale of forbidden love, incest, and murder. It has raised questions about the boundaries of romantic relationships and the impact of societal taboos. While their story is shocking, it also highlights the importance of honesty and transparency in family relationships. Check out these videos.
So I have their arrest warrants in my hand. The father and daughter both face 3 serious charges each. So here at the Henrico County Juvenile Domestic Relations Court, the father is in front of the judge as we speak. His lawyers are asking for a bond. So take a look at their 2 mugshots. We just got into the newsroom. 20-year-old Katie Pladl is a 42-year-old Steven Pladl's biological daughter. The North Carolina investigators arrested the couple, and both face 2 misdemeanor charges of contributing to the delinquency of a minor and 1 felony charge of incest. They were extradited to Henrico County yesterday, where police say their sexual relationship first developed. Now, Steven Pladl's ex-wife told CBS 6 she was 17 and he was just 22 when they had Katie and gave her up for adoption. But when Katie reached the age of 18, she located her biological parents to develop a relationship. She ultimately moved in with the couple for several months at their Henrico home and called the pair mom and dad, according to her biological mom. But Katie's mother moved out. She said she had no idea a sex relationship allegedly started between her ex-husband and her daughter until she read one of her other daughter's journals. There she found drawings of Katie pregnant. Now, both declined an interview from the Henrico jail this morning. They are both due in court again on April 23rd for a preliminary hearing. They face up to 10 years in prison, more than 10 years in prison if convicted. Working for you in Henrico County, I'm Brendan King, CBS 6 News.
Melissa Hippolyte spoke exclusively with that man's attorney. Melissa, what did he tell you?
Yeah, the lawyer who was representing Steven Pladl, spoke to us just a little over an hour ago here at his office in Chesterfield. Rick Friedman said Steven Pladl killed himself after he killed his infant child that he had with his biological daughter, Katie Pladl, and then killed Katie as well as her adopted father. Now, police in North Carolina have also confirmed this information. The killing spree began in North Carolina, just outside of Raleigh. That's where police found the Pladl's 7-month-old son dead inside of the home where Steven and Katie used to live. Police in New Milford, Connecticut, then found a man and woman shot inside of a pickup truck this morning around 8:30. Friedman says those two people are Katie and her adopted father. Police then found Steven Pladl not too far from there, just across the state line in New York. They found him dead. Friedman says he never anticipated any of this, and he is in complete shock.
I became close with Mr. Pladl like I do with most of my clients. And within the past month and a half, when Mr. Pladl was in Virginia, I took him to breakfast at a restaurant. I did not remotely believe that he could harm himself or anybody around him. And when something like this happens, it's a shock. It's disappointing.
Now, Friedman says that Steven's mother moved into the couple's North Carolina home to take care of their child when they were arrested, and then she continued to do that when they were out on bond. Police said that she asked them to do a welfare check on her son's house, so she was the one that prompted them to check the situation and then found the baby. Now, according to court documents, Katie was to live with her adopted parents in New York while she was out on bond and avoid contact with Steven. And Steven was allowed to travel to North Carolina to live in his mother's house so that he could visit his child. Working for you tonight in Chesterfield, I'm Melissa Hippolyte for CBS. Bill and Candace, according to a 911 call obtained by the CBS affiliate in Raleigh, North Carolina, Steven Pladl's mother told police that his wife, who is actually his biological daughter, had just broken up with him yesterday over the phone.
911, out of the emergency. Yes, my son just called me, and he told me he died.
In a frantic call placed by Steven Pladl's mother to 911 dispatchers in Knightdale, North Carolina Thursday morning, she tells them her son killed his infant son.
He killed his baby, and he's in the house. Okay, you said that he told you he killed his baby. Okay, ma'am.
She then says Steven also killed his wife, Katie Pladl, who is actually his biological daughter and the mother of the child. She says Steven also killed Katie's adoptive father.
He killed his wife, he killed her father, and I can't even believe this is happening.
Police declined to say how the 7-month-old boy died, but said he was found inside the home Steven and Katie once shared in North Carolina. Investigators say Steven's mom told them he picked the child up from her Wednesday evening. But at some point, police say Steven left North Carolina and traveled to Connecticut. In her call to 911, Steven's mom said he told her he was bringing the baby to Katie and then coming back.
He left last night. He called me, I think maybe about 7 last night, and said he was on his way to New York. He was going to bring to his wife and give it to her, and then he'd be back. And he called me this morning. I just got up the phone just a couple minutes ago. Oh, God. He told me to call the police, that I shouldn't go over there.
But according to Steven's attorney, Rick Friedman, something very different transpired, and Steven shot and killed Katie and her adoptive father, Anthony Fusco, inside a pickup truck in Connecticut at around 8:30 Thursday morning.
My wife came running out, and I came running out of the bar because we heard somebody empty a clip.
Friedman says Steven then crossed the border into New York and killed himself.
What we knew of him was that he was a caring individual who was in an extremely unusual relationship.
Steven retained Friedman after being arrested earlier this year on incest charges by Henrico police. And Friedman says Thursday's events shocked him.
I did not remotely believe that he could harm himself or anybody around him. And when something like this happens, It's a shock. It's disappointing.
Now, I actually communicated with Steven Pladl via Facebook after he was released on bond in February. At the time, he told me it was, quote, frustrating to watch lies being told about us and to see people prejudge you based on those lies without any ability to defend ourselves. He also said, quote, our families are being very supportive to both of us and are very much involved in our lives. Working for you, I'm Melissa Hippolyte.
This is a story that's gaining national attention, and here's what we know right now. Knightdale police found a 7-month-old baby dead this morning in a home on Earlston Court. All day they've been piecing this scene together with 2 other crime scenes in Connecticut and across the state line in New York.
Josh Chapin tweeting pictures from the neighborhood in Knightdale tonight. He's live at Knightdale Police Headquarters with the latest. Josh?
Tisha, this is just one of those deeply troubling stories that we have to cover. Knightdale police especially in shock upon showing up to that welfare check this morning to find that 7-month-old, that infant dead. And tonight this multi-state investigation continues.
This is a quiet community, you know, a bunch of average people, middle-class people.
Imagine Ronnie Hogg's surprise this morning.
And I seen all these police out here. I knew who they were only because of the news, you know, of what they did, but they only been here since like January.
Hogg referring to recent neighbors Katie and Steven Pladl.
They kept to themselves. They never bothered. They're not even nice people.
And the infant, you told me.
I saw the baby, you know, the girl taking the baby in and out of the house, but that's about it. It's upsetting that the baby's dead, but how long had the baby been there? So, yeah, it's pretty bad.
Tonight, homeowners like Ronnie returning after Knightdale police spent the day trying to figure out how long an infant boy, 7-month-old Bennett Pladl, had been dead in this house.
There is a connection between the events here in Knightdale today and the crimes that are being investigated by the New Milford, Connecticut Police Department and the New York State Police Department.
This is scene in New Milford, Connecticut that Knightdale police say is connected to their investigation. Here, detectives found 2 people fatally shot inside a pickup. Those 2, 20-year-old Katie Pladl and her adoptive father, Anthony Busco.
Obviously, we're very saddened by today's events. Events like this are not common in our community. Unfortunately, they are not uncommon in society.
Steven, Katie's biological father and father of the 7-month-old, was found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound 9 miles across state lines in New York.
Like you, we're trying to make sense of all the factors that led up to this senseless taking of life.
Steven and Katie Pladl had been arrested in February on incest charges. They were awaiting court dates in Virginia. During that, police say the infant, that 7-month-old, was in the custody of Steven's mother, the same person police say called 911 for that welfare check. We will continue monitoring this just horrific story as it develops. We're live in Knightdale.
Yes, Bill, he was supposed to make an appearance here for a preliminary hearing on April 23rd, and prosecutors say they wouldn't be surprised if that had something to do with the fact that his wife/daughter severed their relationship hours before this mass murder.
Well, it's stranger than fiction here. I mean, you couldn't write this stuff.
But that nonfiction story started playing out next door to Gregory Conforto's Henrico home.
When I saw him holding her, I assumed there was something romantic, but I also, like I said, knew she was, a lot younger. So I was just scratching my head.
When an adopted Katie Pladl would move in with her biological parents, she would meet as an adult, beginning to what lawyers say led to her end.
My son just called me. He killed his baby. He killed his wife. He killed her father. And I can't even believe this is happening.
A tearful 911 recording captures the moment after Steven Pladl's mother would learn that her son went on a murder spree that spanned 3 states Thursday.
Oh, God. He told me to call the police, that I shouldn't go over there.
North Carolina police say Steven killed his 7-month-old son, Bennett. He conceived with his 20-year-old daughter in white. Less than 12 hours later, he'd show up in Connecticut.
Pulled alongside the victim's vehicle and discharged several rounds from an assault-type rifle into the passenger compartment of the victim's vehicle. They resulted in gunshot wounds to the operator and the passenger.
That lifeless driver and passenger were Katie and her adopted father, Anthony Fusco, who police say were aware that Steven was headed north. Investigators say Steven would then cross the border into New York, where he turned the gun on himself.
It just saddens me. Things can get that bad, that out of hand.
A tragedy caused by what Conforto called a loner neighbor who he thought was capable of being rude and distant, but not of murder.
I tried. And I tried to just be, say hi, how are you doing? Like I said, I got nothing more than a simple, don't talk to me. You just scratch your head. Wonder.
And Conforto says the only real memory he has of them outside as a family was of Pladl actually holding his wife/daughter in his arms, cradling her. That's the one memory he has. He says he feels most sorry for his 2 younger children, who happens to also be his wife/daughter's siblings. That's who his heart really breaks for tonight. Working for you in Henrico County.
Candace, the 911 call from Connecticut tells a story of a terrifying morning when Steven Pladl pulled up next to the pickup truck his wife, who was also his biological daughter, and her adoptive dad were riding in and opened fire.
Someone just went by and shot this guy in the truck. Somebody just shot somebody in a truck on Route 55, sir? Yes, we're getting Route 55 and Route 7. It just happened.
The quiet stillness of an April morning in the small, picturesque town of New Milford, Connecticut, shattered by an unexpected barrage of gunfire at this intersection.
We need the police. We need everybody. There's 2 people in the car.
A New York fireman made this 911 call to emergency dispatchers moments after witnessing Steven Pladl pull alongside a pickup truck and open fire on the 2 people inside.
I just see the vehicle alongside of it and the shots coming outside the window going through the truck.
New Milford police say Pladl used an assault-type rifle to shoot and kill his wife, 20-year-old Katie Pladl, who was also his biological daughter. Also shot dead Katie's adoptive father, 56-year-old Anthony Fusco. Fusco and his wife raised Katie, but she reunited with her biological parents at the age of 18 in Henrico County, where they lived. Steven and Katie began a sexual relationship there and had a child. Henrico police charged the couple with incest.
We're pulling up to the stop sign. He went around 2 holy trucks. These 2 were behind us. As soon as he opened fire and shot these 2 people, he went up there around them.
Police say they're still investigating how Steven found the pair and where the 2 were going Thursday morning around 8:30.
It's assumed that maybe they're running an errand in this direction.
Police say Pladl drove through the night from Knightdale, North Carolina to Connecticut. They say he talked to his mother shortly before midnight Wednesday and told her he was taking the baby he had with Katie to see Katie in New York. He then talked to her again around 7 Thursday morning and told her he and the baby were in New York and nearing the location where they would meet Katie. But police say that was a lie. They said he first killed the child in North Carolina and then drove to Connecticut, where he killed Katie and her adoptive dad. Police say Steven ultimately turned the gun on himself following a traffic stop in Dover, New York, which is just 7 miles from where Katie and her adoptive parents were living in Wingdale, New York. Now, a reporter asked the New Milford, Connecticut police chief if there was any evidence to suggest Steven Pladl was heading back to Wingdale to hurt Katie's adoptive mother. The chief said he did not know. Working for you,
Hello, this is Connecticut. It's on Route 7 and Route 55. Someone just went by and shot this guy in the truck. Somebody just shot somebody in a truck?
Little could this eyewitness know that what he saw here in New Milford was part of a larger, twisted tale.
I'm a fireman out in New York. The car pulled up, went around him, shot him. Whole clip full into his head.
A scene even difficult to handle.
He's deceased, boss. The truck's in the middle of the road. He's dead?
For a first responder.
All right, sir. Just stay on the line with me. Yes, sir. We need the police. We need everybody. There's 2 people in the car.
The 2 people shot, according to New Milford, Connecticut police, Katie Pladl and her adoptive father, Anthony Fusco.
I'm going to pull my truck up here and block the view of everything, and then we'll try to keep them going around. Are there 2 people deceased, sir? Yes, sir.
It's a scene Steven takes responsibility for in a call to his mother, which she reveals to authorities.
He killed his wife. He killed her father. And I can't even believe this is happening.
Steven also confesses that he killed 7-month-old Bennett that he and Katie had together in the Knightdale home they shared.
Oh, God. He told me to call the police, that I shouldn't go over there. The house is empty. He said he put a key under the front mat.
Authorities say Steven committed suicide in New York, about 9 miles away from that scene in Connecticut.
These pictures show a happy new mother and father. This link, the couple's baby registry. But this is anything but your typical love story. 20-year-old Katie Pladl is 42-year-old Steven Pladl's biological daughter.
This is a pretty unique set of facts, I'd say.
North Carolina investigators arrested the couple. Both face charges related to incest and will be extradited back to Henrico, where they first allegedly developed a sexual relationship.
It's a Class 5 felony if that occurs in Virginia, and that means you can get up to 10 years in prison.
We talked to Steven Pladl's ex-wife, who is Katie's mom, over the phone. She said she was 17 when she had Katie, and Steven was 22. They gave her up for adoption, but when Katie reached the age of 18, she located her biological parents to develop a relationship. She ultimately moved in with them for a couple of months at this Henrico home and called the pair mom and dad. Katie's mom ultimately moved out when the couple opted to separate. She said she had no idea a sexual relationship started between the pair until she read one of her other daughter's journals, where she found drawings of Katie being pregnant and wrote that her dad was trying to make her call Katie stepmom. At that point, she said she took out protective orders against Steven, so he couldn't go near her or their younger daughters. She says Katie and Steven got married in Maryland and then moved to North Carolina, where they were ultimately arrested. She believes Steven brainwashed and manipulated their daughter. CBS 6 legal analyst Todd Stone says the judge who hears the case will have some tough choices to make.
And a judge will have the opportunity to decide, whether this statute makes this conduct illegal because of moral ideas and religious ideas, or whether it's because of science and increased chance of birth defects, and then what should the penalty really be for people who are both adults and consenting to a sexual relationship, even though it's illegal in Virginia and most other places.
Please keep all involved in your prayers. What do you think about this story? Let me know in the comments below. And be nice, or a frog you will become. Damn it. If you like the video, like, subscribe, and hit that bell to receive notifications of when we upload a new video. Also check out our merch at sen1he.com.